Welcome, everyone. I'm Norman Kinsey. I'm your host at Real Estate vs. Technology. We have your co-host, Mr. Dan Gandy. Welcome, Dan.
Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. And we have the one and only welcome to Real Estate vs. Technology. Well, you'll get the inside scoop from top producing real estate professionals all around the country, best practices, techniques, and learn about what technology they're using to drive to ensure their success in this world we call real estate. Only leasing agent 415 in San Francisco. She's doing some amazing things. Welcome to the show, Inna, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you so much. So we want to get into your business. We know you're in the city. So how long have you been in the business? What made you get into the business? Give us a little bit of your story.
Mm-hmm. Well, I got into the business in 2009 in general business of real estate. Prior to 2009, I worked for Deloitte. I have a master's degree in taxation, and I worked on creating tax saving strategies for Fortune 500 companies. And at one point, I realized that I was a hog in this huge machine, and what I didn't matter.
Okay.
I had a situation where we created savings for a huge company, and the tax director said, it was millions of dollars, and it didn't matter whatsoever. So I realized that I wanted to do something that really affected my bottom line and other people. So basically what I did is I took yellow pages, this is 2009, ripped out all real estate pages and circled every real estate investment company in the book and sent out about 40 emails asking for an unpaid internship. I explained who I am, who I was, what my education background was. And out of 40 companies, one company basically hired me on the spot. I was an unpaid intern for 4 months. They taught me every aspect of real estate, acquisitions, underwriting. They bought apartment complexes all over the country. They taught me to underwrite an apartment building on the back of a napkin. I did asset management for commercial real estate, and then they bought a building in San Francisco and asked me to lease and manage it. I knew nothing about it, but it was sort of like I kind of stumbled into leasing, and I really fell in love with it. So I've been doing leasing since 2012 now.
Wow. That's an awesome story. I love that, how you're just like, you know what? Let's go for it. And I can relate. I called 350 agents, understanding their business, not needing to sell anyone on anything, to come up with a solution behind the scenes with Liftoff. And so I can relate to you on that story. So that's amazing.
That's awesome. So in terms of, how many contracts are you leasing per year? Just give us a little bit of business volume and scale.
Well, because my entire business is leasing, and I do no sales, and I hope to never do sales, my production goals won't really tell you much, but what I can say is that I consistently have a really solid 6-figure income, and I work 20, 30 hours a week. I work on my own terms. I set up appointments when I feel like setting up appointments. My husband jokes that you tour between manicures and massages, which is kind of true because I'm a mom of 2 boys, and I need time for my family. That's my priority. So it's sort of like this, having a container, a bunch of rocks in the sand. So the rocks are my family, myself, my exercising, all the things that I want to do for myself, and work is sand. It fills in and goes into every nook and cranny. So which is awesome because I've closed so many deals in the Trader Joe's frozen aisle, and while stirring dinner, it's been great. So I almost never work weekends, and if I do, it's a 15-minute tour here or there. So almost never. So everything is on my terms, which is why I really enjoy it. And I am truly the only leasing expert at Compass in the Beach Street, and really encompass San Francisco. So I have trained over the 2 years that I've been with Compass, I've trained every agent to really, when they hear rentals, they picture me. So any rental question, people come to me with literally everything, whether a client is looking to buy an investment property, or they're looking to rent out a home, or their home isn't selling, or should they rent or should they sell, you name it. I mean, literally, if the rent shows up, it's me. So I've been very fortunate to have created that business for myself.
That's awesome. And then what types of technology are you leveraging in your business to make it effective and to make it worthwhile?
Well, in terms of technology, I mean, really what makes things happen for me are Craigslist and Zillow, believe it or not.
Wow.
In San Francisco, it's all you need to rent a place. My marketing efforts go far beyond Craigslist and Zillow. I work with relocation consultants, and I market to different agents, and there are the different layers of marketing that I do for my properties. But really, honestly, Craigslist and Zillow is what you need. And to me, what's been really huge for my business is being on the first page of Google. Because you know what, if you remember at Talladega Nights, when Ricky Bobby's father says, "If you ain't first, you're last," that is so true. Because you know what, if you are not on the first page, you might as well be on, might not be there at all.
Yes.
I interestingly enough once met a gentleman. I was riding an Uber home from the airport, and he was listening to Gary Vaynerchuk podcast, and we started talking. So by the time I got home, he was my SEO manager.
Ah.
Yeah, so I found this gentleman. He did my SEO, and he took me from page 66 of Google to page 1 organically. I do no Google ads. So if you Google leasing agent San Francisco, I show up twice. I checked last night. And that has been by far the biggest thing for me, because most of my business right now comes from realtors. Top realtors in San Francisco don't do leasing, so they send it to me for me to handle. And but who knows what things are going to look like at the end of this crisis, right? People might be jumping at any opportunity to make money, and they can do the leasing themselves, right? So to me, it was really important to never fully rely on that and really build that presence. So Facebook, I'm big on Instagram. I have a YouTube channel. I create all kinds of videos for, fall rental strategies, for example. A lot of people don't know the difference between renting in the fall and renting in the spring, although the spring is even worse than the fall. So I created just recently a video for tenants on how to score a great rental in San Francisco. Really, what are the some things that you can do? So I try to be fair to both parties, even though I pretty much work with landlords only. So to me, being out there, being visible has been, and believe it or not, 2 years ago, I was terrified of having a Facebook account or an Instagram account. Here I am, shooting videos about properties and my business. So
I would have never known.
And I just have one more question, and it's a little off topic, but in terms of how your service operates, so landlords reach out to you to basically fill their vacancy, correct?
Correct. Yes. So I have a team in place at this point. I've been doing this long enough. So I partner with somebody who represents tenants. So if somebody is selling their home and they need to find a rental, that is something. So we are the opposite side of each of a coin, where I do the landlord side and she does the tenant side. And from that, we kind of created a whole new business strategy. It's called Bridge Leasing, where if somebody is looking to sell a home, but they have no idea where they would go next, we find them a rental, and then the agent who pays for our service to find them a rental, then they do, we usually work with Compass people, so they do the Compass concierge, Compass coming soon, they sell the property, and then in a year or 6 months, they create a whole new listing for them by buying a home for these people, right? So the agent creates 2 listings where there otherwise wouldn't be any.
Wow, that's awesome. So before we get to the last couple of questions, I have one for you as well, a little off script here. But as far as like with the pandemic and what's going on, how are things going and how have things changed so we can make this relevant to what's going on with the whole CV-19?
Well, the market's dead. In San Francisco, we're not allowed to tour. We're not allowed to do anything really. So I continuously market my properties. I continuously market them on various social media channels online, but I'm getting no calls. And I have several properties that have just come out, and I'm telling the owners, look, there's nothing I can do for you, because even if somebody does want to look at the property, even if we get them in to see it, somehow by violating the law, which we won't do, but they're not, when are they going to, they don't know when they're going to move, right? So how can they make any kind of commitment? So everyone is just holding back on it. However, I do feel strongly that once the shelter in place is lifted, people are going to start moving like crazy, because one, I'm sure there'll be a lot of divorces because I'm sure people are going to want bigger homes because a lot of people are now cooped up in really small places with kids in many cases. And it's just going to be, they're going to start making changes. And I think a lot of people are going to be moving out of the area because they can't afford it. And they're going to decide, like, you know what, if another crisis like this, and we'll just kill each other. So people are going to make big changes.
That's true.
They're probably going stir crazy.
And there'll be a lot of babies.
Yeah, I know. I'm done with this house. I've been here for a month and a half, 2 months straight. I need a new house now.
Well, you know, homes in San Francisco are relatively small. So when you are home with 2 kids, or even just by yourself, it becomes really small really fast. And people just realize what is wrong with the home, because when they come and go, and it's not a big deal, they just sleep there. But when they're there 24/7, they're going to be ready to make changes for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Wow, that's awesome. So far, you know, we know where you're at today. We know you have the team. Where do you see your business in the next 5 years?
Oh, yeah, I see a hologram of me pop up in front of every agent who utters the word rental. Something like that, some kind of technology. I'm hoping to build a bigger team. Maybe I have a bunch of long-legged blondes and brunettes running around town showing properties while I'm doing more of a business development and strategy type of work. But I think I kind of carved out a really awesome niche for myself at this point, and I might be kind of doing some other things as well, because, you know, ultimately when you get something to an awesome level, and you kind of really want to already do some other thing. So I'm working on that, trying to figure that out.
That's awesome. And you're now the thought leader, right? When anyone thinks about leasing in San Francisco, you're that go-to person. So I love the fact that you said hologram. Like, I can only imagine the future as just like, you know, them just holding something in their hand and you just pop up and you're like, all right, so here's the home.
That's right. Oh, how can I help you with leasing your property? How can are you sure you want to rent versus sell the property? Yeah, there's so many things that I certainly envision for the future, because it's, you know, it's gonna, our life's definitely gonna change.
It's amazing. You're literally going to be at the Bahamas with your family. Honey, I got to step away for 15 minutes. I'm going to show home. and then you come back. I love it. That's awesome. So before we wrap things up, got a couple last questions for you. I know, Dan, you have one for.
Yeah, I think I love asking this question. That's the last one I always leave with, which is if somebody was going to get started in your shoes, right? They want to get into leasing. They may not know much about property management and investments. What is the one piece of advice you would give them in trying to break into your market?
Stay away. You know, the thing is, in San Francisco, San Francisco is probably one of maybe 3 or 4 cities in North America, and might be one of 10 cities in the world where you can actually make a living doing leasing. But it takes a very long time to get it, because it's a snowball effect, right? It's a repeat client, a new client, repeat client, new client. But I've been doing this for almost 8 years now, so I've got to a point where it's sustainable, and it makes financial sense. So I wouldn't specifically advise anybody to go into leasing, but if you do go into sales, what I would advise to anybody is join a team, join one of the top teams, and if you have to fetch coffee for them, do that. And if you have to do that for free, absolutely work your tail off, learn it. 5 minutes in the same room with some of the top producers will be worth your while. Absolutely, you're going to learn so much, just their energy, just the way they handle successes and failures. It's absolutely huge. The other thing I would recommend is document your journey. Document everything via social media, Instagram account, things you do. Build a great Instagram account. Understand the difference between profile posts and stories, and just create it very cool. Because what's important to understand, as more millennials and sort of Generation Z people are entering the market, they're not going to be asking anybody for referrals. They are going to go to Google and or whatever other platform, and they'll look for you. And if you don't show up on page 1, you're never going to be found, right? So you have to stay on top, because people are in their phones all the time, and they need to be, they need to see you, right? And then the last thing I would always recommend, and I always say that, I've said that in some of my videos, is that if you have an active client who's calling you, that means you're failing. It is absolutely the most important thing to remember from the very beginning, that if your client's calling you, you are failing. You need to stay connected. You need to keep them up to date. Even if nothing's happening on the listing, tell them what you've done, tell them what you're planning to do. Just make them feel good, and always have that connection with them, because the biggest complaint I hear is that there's no communication. We have no idea what's going on. So it's always really important to check in and hold their hand through the entire process. That's what will bring them back as a repeat client, and have them and create referrals for you.
Yeah,
Wow.
Being on the offensive and not the defensive.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. You got to be proactive, not reactive. What I got from what you just said is join your team. If they're going to get their license, they want to do leasing.
Interestingly, I have had two people who have approached me and just worked for me as really unpaid interns.
Wow.
And they, while they were studying for exams, and I've given them a lot of thoughts, a lot of ideas, taught them a lot of things. And then a couple of them work for Compass right now, and they work on teams, and they really thought that I gave them some invaluable information. Now I'm not paying for it, but I'm really definitely teaching.
That's awesome.
That's good. So, getting close to the end of the show, any books, podcasts you would recommend for someone, something that helps you in your business, that could help someone else in their business as they're getting a real estate license and go through the process?
I used to be big on all kinds of motivational books, and I would advise avoiding them altogether, because if motivation and hustle and drive doesn't come from within, you're just really never going to get it. You're going to be 1495 poor, and you're going to be just where you are. So I think a lot of books that sort of help you learn how to storytell. For example, yesterday I finished Haruki Murakami's book, and all his books are very open-ended. You kind of have to create your own ending and kind of figure out why that character was there to begin with. So that helps you with your imagination and helps you create, develop your personal brand through storytelling. These are big. And then I personally am listening to Life After Google right now. It's by George Gilder, who prophesized all things tech since the 80s, and he's now talking about the blockchain technology and how basically Google servers are not going to be enough, no matter how many of them they build. They're not going to be enough for the future. So that blockchain technology, and then obviously cryptocurrency on top of that, is going to change our life forever. So staying on top of what's new, what's cool, what's exciting, and constantly talking about it, because that's how you get your clients, as if they see you in social media every day, giving them information, keeping them calm, and then you're there in front of them all the time on their terms as they want to see you. That's going to help create a lot of business.
That's
for sure.
Awesome.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, definitely. I know that, just looking at your Instagram, I definitely built that like, know, and trust factor, right? And that's how you have a sell, happen. And it was okay, I know who she is, and we haven't even met yet, which was awesome.
Yeah, for me, Instagram has been a blessing, because it's a lot of realtors following realtors. And when I follow realtors, I engage, I comment on their investment, on their sales, and I give them a lot of advice. It's something with rent for, and Instagram has been honestly one of the best tools that I've had.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Well, we're now at the end of the show. At this segment, we like to just open the floor up to you. So if there's anything you're working on, something you want to talk about specifically, what would you like to leave us with today?
I don't want to talk about myself, because there's plenty of information out there, but I wanted to say that in the current situation, the crisis we're going through, and this very unpleasant process of life-changing, I think it's really important for people right now to kind of reassess who they are, organize your head. Like literally open it up and organize it. What are you good at? What are you bad at? Make lists, your strengths, your weaknesses, your likes, your dislikes. Narrow down what you want. Figure out your strategic goals. Research your competition. How do they market? What are their strengths and weaknesses? Just do everything that could possibly increase your business. Learn what their hashtags are. Use, I recently watched a masterclass by Goodby and Silverstein and Goodby, and they said, don't borrow, steal. So, look at other people's businesses and see how you can improve yours. Learn and grow. If you don't have children right now, you have a huge advantage over those of us who do, because of the distance learning that we're doing on a daily basis. So just use this time very wisely. Yeah, Netflix is awesome, but there are so many things that you could be learning and, watch and listen to Lift Up podcasts and Bigger Pocket podcasts. And
Yep.
God knows there's so many of them. And of course, if you have any questions on the rentals or investment in San Francisco,
You're the person.
Yes, I am the right one. Leasing Agent 415 on every platform.
That's
Perfect.
awesome. Well, thank you so much for your insight, information. We love to switch it up. So not just traditionally have real estate professionals, but I mean, we've never had a leasing agent, and we're so honored and glad that you came to us and asked, hey, can I be on the show? And we were always looking for new individuals. Hence, thanks to Instagram for everyone listening and watching. Instagram is an awesome place to network and meet people. So Enes, thank you so much for being a part of the show today. We really appreciate it. Thank you, Dan, as well, for being a part of the show today.
Always.
Being a co-host. And everyone out there, best of luck. Stay positive. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. We hope you found value and took something you can apply to your business today. Be sure to join our community on Facebook, Real Estate vs. Technology, all spelled out. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We would appreciate it. It's Real Estate Tech. And of course, if you or someone else you know would like to be a part of our show, just go ahead and send us an email. It's reversetechtalk@gmail.com, and we'll see you next week.